Okay, we're here with our MP Phil Wilson at Newton Aycliffe Sports Club. Phil, you've agreed to answer questions from members of the public. We've got a question here from Mr. and Mrs. John McLean from Flynn Court. They say, hi, I've only got one question to ask the MP. When is Newton Aycliffe Town Centre closing down? On weekdays you see nobody in the town, and apart from charity shops and a few others, there isn't anything. The most embarrassing thing for us was recently we had a family wedding and people had travelled from Ireland, America and London. We had to tell them that we didn't have a town centre, so instead visited Darlington. What do you have to say to Mr. and Mrs. McLean?
Well, I don't think it's not going to close down, and I know people are really frustrated about the time lag in the development, because people are waiting for the Aldi store to open, and in actual fact it hasn't been built yet. And there has been problems, not with Aldi's, and not with the developers, but actually with the utility companies, which I found really frustrating. In fact, at one point I nearly raised it on the floor of the House of Commons, because I just thought it was ridiculous, the delays that were involved. And I know that the developers wanted to try and get the superstore opened at the beginning of this year, but I think it's going to be more towards the end of the year now. But it is coming, and believe me, I understand people's frustration, because I must spend a part of every week dealing with something to do with the town centre, and it's been the same since I was originally elected in 2007. But we just got to be, hang on in there and make sure it gets the go-ahead, which it will.
Yeah, it's obviously a major concern, people of Aycliffe, because that's a lot of the sort of gist of most of the questions that we've received. Simon Van Dyke via Facebook is asked, could you ask Phil why the town centre has no public toilets and why we seem to be stuck in the 70s? Well,
public toilets keeps coming up all the time, and I think it's a cost aspect of it all. Because I understand before I was elected as MP that there were toilets there that were run by the town council, and they were just very, very expensive to run. Also, what was happening was that they kept being vandalised. So essentially, I think it's something that people need to think about. But also, I can understand why it hasn't happened yet, because they are so expensive to run.
Right. Helen Collingwood, also via Facebook, she'd said she'd love to ask when are they going to fix the paving in the town centre. She said that she tripped up again the other day while pushing her son's pram, and it's disgraceful.
Yeah, well, she's right again, and I do know that they are going to replace all the pavement there. It's part of the regeneration programme. They're going to do the Aldi store later on this year. Also, they want to start looking at what else needs to be done in the town centre. They have got a phased programme of works going on for the next 2 or 3 years. What they're ultimately going to do is that end of the town centre where the post office is, those shops there, are actually going to be pulled down. And the problem they've got there is that these leases for some of the shops that are in there, so they've got to wait for them to expire before they can do any other work. As far as I think people have just got to accept that. It's just the way it is. And I think that the last leases run out, I think, in 2013. So that part can be pulled down after that. As far as the pavement's concerned, that is something that will go on in the meantime.
Okay. John Greenhow, also from Aycliffe, he says, do you have a vision or a plan for the improvement and development of Newton Aycliffe? He said, I understand the town centre is not owned by the council. However, I'm thinking of the old police station land, the old Southern Club land where nothing seems to have happened for years. Perhaps a leadership or business group could be empowered to help solve some of these problems.
Well, I think that's a sensible suggestion, to trying to get the community involved in what we need to see happen in Newton Aycliffe. I know that the town council has actually got a community consultation at the moment about what do we need for our town, and I've got a vision for it, actually, for the whole town, which is I want to see it grow, I want to see it prosper, and I want to see people to be attracted to live here. And I think 1 or 2 developments that are taking place at the moment are actually leading to that. One is Hitachi, which is, as we all know, it's 500 direct jobs. There's going to be thousands in the supply chain. You've got Talents that's expanding as well. They've got, I think, on the way to 1,400 people working there. I believe they're thinking about suppliers coming into the town as well. So obviously they need places to live. So I want to see more affordable housing to be built. I want to see more executive housing to be built, because if you've got people coming in from all over the country who are going to open businesses and what have you, you need a mixture of housing tenure for people to live in. And that's why I think all the redevelopment of the golf course and the 4-star hotel that's going to be built is essential to the area as well, because that will attract business people in too. And also with the town centre, I think that's is going, you know, we're not going to have a metro centre in the middle of Newton Aycliffe, but I can see that developing over the years. But I can understand people's frustration, because every time I meet somebody who's lived in the town for quite a few years, go back to the way it was when there was a road actually through the middle of the town centre, and everybody talks about the flower beds and there was stacks of shops opened and things like that. And obviously we're not going to open up a road through the middle of it, but I think improvements can be made, and I think the developers are up for it. The owners of the town centre are up for it now. Aldi's are up for it. Tesco's, you know, are here as well. But I want to see other shops open in the area. We've got Wilkinson's that have opened, but I want to see other ones open up as well. And I think if it's a growing town, with the likes of Hitachi, with talent bringing in more jobs as well, with the golf course, with more housing, etc., I think that will put pressure on the developers and people who have owned the downtown centre to think, you know, maybe we can develop this even further. So it's a programme for 10 years, but I can see the town actually changing over the next 10 years or so.
You mentioned, just going off the bit slightly, you mentioned there about attracting other companies, other businesses to the town, shops, and especially sort of high street retail companies, for example. A lot of people say, well, you know, there aren't any decent clothes shops in Aycliffe, but do you think with Wilkinson's, Tesco's and now Aldi, do you think that will help to...
Well, that's the whole idea. That's why I think, you know, the developers are wanting to redevelop the town centre. They obviously have all the view that there is a need for growth in the town centre, and that it has potential. So does Aldi's, so does Wilkinson's. Tesco's are there as well. But we also need to attract other businesses and other shops and retailers into the town centre. And that's why I think, you know, what's happening with Hitachi is great news, what's happening at Talents is great news, what's happening with the golf course is great news as well. And I think we just need to wait and see. I think I didn't mention the police station there. We just need to see what's going to happen exactly with that police station, whether it's actually going to stay as a police station or whether it's going to be redeveloped as well. And I mean, that's something for further down the line. And the Southern Club as well, I know I've been making investigations about that as well, but again, it's owned by a private company, and it's not something that the local authority can just turn around and say, well, we're going to do this with it. I mean, to be fair to the county council, when we've got the library pulled down, the old library pulled down, they have opened the temporary one, and everybody's raving about it. It's a great facility for the town centre. And I was at a meeting a few weeks ago with the developers, with the county council as well, talking about the community hub that they want to build around the leisure centre. You know, the entrance into it, there's all that space there where they want to have, where they want to put the library, and where they want the community facilities to be put in there as well. So I just think people have just got to be patient, and you know, I'm living through this as well because I have to deal with it every week, but you just got to be optimistic about it, and I am actually.
Michael Richardson